Can't complain.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. How you doing? How's the weekend?
Weekend was fine. Went and helped a sister-in-law out. She's getting ready to sell her house, so just went over there and helped her touch up a few things, replace some electrical stuff. So more of a working weekend, but not too bad. Got to check in on the markets and everything was still green, so could have been worse.
Yeah, right.
What
No, I
about
was
you? What'd you get up to this weekend?
I went up with my buddy's family. Just got away. They like rented a house, went out on the lake and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, sounds nice. Except I feel like I missed a lot of cooks in the HQ. It sounds like it was a good weekend. Um, but we're back now. Should be plenty more.
Oh yeah, nice forward, baby.
Yep. Yeah, you got to get started here.
Yeah, man, let's hit it.
Awesome. Jam, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Wake and Jake. We got Silva alongside me once again while Jinzo's out in Greece. And yeah, we got another green week of the markets. It's great to see. Get right into it here. As a little recap, Bitcoin up about 5% on the week. ETH, the big story, up 20%. Finally broke that 4K mark. That it just seemed like it eternally would get rejected off of. Great to see. Solana up 9%. A lot of alts doing well. Too. But yeah, majors. Performing pretty well. Comparatively, I would say. Alts haven't really had a big catch up quite yet. Maybe we'll get that soon. But all really good to see. As far as macro stuff goes, a lot of really good news, honestly, last week. Here's a good recap. As always, I'm posting this stuff in voice hangout chat as we go through. But this was kind of like a weekly recap of TradFi news as it kind of relates to crypto. With the big one being that Trump has signed an executive order that opened the 401k retirement market to alternative assets, which include crypto. So people can now invest in crypto via their retirement account, which is pretty awesome. They already could with the ETFs, but now it kind of opens the door, more avenues there. So that's really cool. That certainly helps if there's just like an endless swap, basically. Like a DCA from people's retirement funds into crypto. That'd be pretty good for prices, I would say. As long as a reasonable amount of people actually do allocate a bit to it, which more and more I'm seeing more and more financial advisors, and even like big ones that people like that advisors around the world or especially around the US like look to for basically like copy trade, that are saying like, yeah, allocate X percentage of your 401k, based on, if you're conservative, moderate, aggressive, to crypto assets, which, even just like a few years ago, like no one would have done, no advisor would have done. So that's really cool to see. Hopefully it continues. Good for our bags. Yeah, just I guess a couple other notable things. Harvard bought like 120 million of the Bitcoin ETF. So Sachs, the crypto czar, David Sachs, says there's going to be some kind of executive order that will give 90 million Americans access to crypto. I'm not sure if that was the same as the 401k, but they put this as a different bullet point, so I'm assuming that's something different. They said SEC declares crypto liquid staking activities are not considered securities. So that's really great. And I guess some other minor stuff. Dubai officially approves first crypto options license. Yeah, some really good stuff on the macro front. that we're seeing now. Here's a good poll that Web3 Quant just released. He asked, "What are we thinking?" This is for like kind of like the short term, the market, and the options are local top in 2 weeks, up only till cycle top or super cycle, to get kind of like a good general sentiment of what people are feeling right now in the market. And it's honestly pretty spread out. Looks like the highest right now is local top in 2 weeks at 32%, and then local top at 26%. It's over 50% of people are calling top here real soon. And then another smaller percentage are saying we keep going up. So I would say that's usually like really pretty nice. Like if we had a bunch of people saying like up only, that would worry me a lot more. So maybe we do have a little bit more of a run here in the short term. I would say in general, I'm like semi cautious because we talked about earlier how they kind of expected to range a bit for the majors in between, the highs for Bitcoin, which is around like 122 or so, 23, and then the highs of ETH, which was like 4K, but ETH broke out of that range. That was good to see. Maybe Bitcoin ends up doing that too. Web3 Con also said, he expects later in August that there is going to be another bigger dip as well to come. So I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much, especially on major stuff, but that doesn't mean on-chain stuff can't do really well, which we have seen and we'll definitely get into quite a bit here more. I'll touch on a couple more things on Bitcoin stuff real quick. Farmer thinks we're going to keep it up in the short term, saying that, that might have been the wrong tweet, but essentially was saying that TradFi likes to bring the market down closer to where they closed on Friday before they open, and then they run it right back up. Another notable thing is Web3 Quant called out we talked about this, I think a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he called the top on Bitcoin dominance, which again, as kind of reminder, Bitcoin dominance is just the percentage of Bitcoin's market cap compared to the rest of the crypto market. And usually when Bitcoin dominance falls, we saw this in 2017, we saw this in 2021, like the next year or so is really when the biggest amount of is usually when like the bull market is like in the hottest. And like beginning of 2017, beginning of 2021, like right after that was when we had the hottest times. And he called the top on it a few weeks ago or so. So he's anticipating we have a pretty hot market, I would say, especially for, obviously altcoins, because if Bitcoin dominance is going down, that means, these other coins are taking up market share. And that usually doesn't happen when everything is dying. Usually Bitcoin dies a bit less than alts when all coins are dying. That usually happens when coins are trending up. So that would be excellent to see. He's calling for low 40s. So I guess if you kind of want to maybe mark that on your charts as something to look for. Right now, I'm not sure. I don't have it pulled up right now. I would anticipate we're somewhere around like 60 or so. So it's still quite a ways to go until we get to the 40s. Yeah, we're at 60.58 right now is what I'm seeing. So yeah, I'll stop there. I guess I covered a lot. I'll give Silver your chance or anyone else to speak before we get on to some stuff.
Yeah, man. I mean, tons of good news there. I almost didn't want you to stop. I was like, yeah, just keep laying it on. Keep telling me, give me more reasons to be bullish, as if I didn't have enough already. A lot of great stuff you kind of unpacked there from last week. Both in the way TradFi is going to be able to approach crypto, like you said, from retirement funds, 401ks, things like that, which I'm sure a lot of people have seen this kind of language on Twitter, but just unlocking like what is the infinite bid on the majors, right? Like Bitcoin and ETH. With we've already seen a little bit of that with treasury companies being able to step in, and Fundstrat in particular, Fundstrat and Joseph Lubin's company as well. They both raised I want to say it was 1.3 billion or something like that, right at the end of last week, in convertible notes that they're going to use to buy up more Ethereum this week. Yeah, so the institutional bid, the bid from 401ks and even smaller like quote unquote retail investors, or even just average mom and pop looking to allocate 1 to 5% of their retirement or 401ks into Bitcoin or ETH is just super bullish for everyone in here who's been kind of holding those bags for whatever amount of time. Um, so I think still it's still got a lot of room to run, quite honestly. Not that I'm calling for, 250K Bitcoin or anything like that this cycle, but I definitely don't think 120 or whatever, all-time high was 120, 122K. I definitely don't think that's where we're going to end up at all-time highs this cycle. And similarly for ETH, like we still haven't hit the all-time high from a few years ago, which I believe was, wicked up to 4,800-ish. So I'm a big believer of when, not if, and whether, like you were kind of speaking to, whether that's in the next week or two, right? And then we get kind of a local top before we cool off and maybe resume, going up really quickly in Q4 of this year, or whether we just keep on pumping straight through it and we don't really get much of a dip. I do think there's still decent enough room to run. And obviously we're both super bullish. If no one else can tell, all the stars are kind of aligning for a lot of liquidity and funds kind of moving into our sector, on chain, Web3, all those things. But always just a decent idea to take some chips off the table every couple of percentage point moves upward, and as much as we stress DCAing in, also be sure you're DCAing out and taking care of whatever you need to, because a big thing that I've tried to internalize, at least from last cycle, kind of round tripping a lot of stuff, is just if you make life changing money, you got to take some of it out to actually change your life, right? So want to just exercise a little bit of that caution of every time we move up a little, just maybe think about taking a little bit off. And even as bullish as we are, like eventually we will see a little bit of a pullback, whether that's for a few weeks, few months, or even a few years. So super bullish long term, and even in the next couple of weeks and the rest of this year. But always just keep an eye on that as kind of where I'm playing things right now.
Yes, sir. Love that shout as always. I think even if you are a believer that it's that we're going a lot higher, we're not near cycle top, still taking profits into stables. You can always buy some dips because there's going to be some, obviously, in the meantime on the way up, and some stuff, or just obviously for peace of mind, and not to be overinvested. Yeah, always a good shout. In the short term, I'm having a hard time, I would say, given that we've already pumped a good amount and we're kind of closer to range high here on Bitcoin. I would anticipate like a drop right now, but also ETH kind of broke through the range, so that's making me think maybe we got a little bit more time to go on old stuff right now. I don't know. I'm not really. I guess just in general, like this month, I'm not. It's especially right now. I'm not really looking to. Um, Not really looking to play majors too much. More looking to go down the risk curve a bit and more on chain, which has been popping a ton lately. I guess, yeah, I guess just to say, I mean, I don't have a great feel for where we're going next right now, because in these summer months, it can tend to be quite choppy, and I don't want to get overly bullish too early. Is kind of what I'm saying. But there are some good indicators. Like I said, like I shared that poll from earlier, where a lot of people do expect us to top relatively soon. So maybe we actually don't. The market kind of likes to do the opposite of what people think quite often. With we calling for 5K. I don't know what timeline that is on though. And yeah, I mean, we're seeing, obviously, like you said, a lot of institutional buys into ETH too, which is really good to see. I just think in general, right now, I'm still very bullish on ETH stuff. I think where I want to play it is more of like the beta plays right now, where a lot of these, like especially a lot of these like bigger coins, established protocols and businesses built on ETH have been kind of down in the dumps and underperforming for quite a long time, given that they're very correlated to ETH's performance, and ETH has underperformed for quite a long time too. And I think we could see some really nice runs on some bigger ETH alts. I know one that a lot of people like, and that's relatively newer. If we're going on the as far as like this cycle, I should say, if we're going on the meme coin side of the thing, is Mog. I've seen a lot of sharp people on Mog as kind of like the main ETH runner play. SPX, I guess, is another one too. But as far as like businesses go, ENS, I've seen some good amount of bull posts. I think that one makes a good amount of sense given given the NFT run we've seen recently too. It kind of plays into that, as well as just a general ETH beta with the .eth names. I think that could get probably a nice bid. And then Athena, yeah, like Waf says, read my mind. I was about to mention Athena as well. As I've seen a lot of sharps on Athena too. With honestly, I'm not super plugged into what they're doing over there. I've read through it before, and it sounded smart. It sounded like they had some juicy yield that they were giving people. But I haven't participated in it myself, so I don't know too much about the ecosystem. But I've seen a lot of sharp people on Athena. I don't know if you, Silver, and anyone else have on more of those topics or any other ETH adjacent plays that you're into.
I definitely can't speak to the Athena. I've thrown in a long here and there, and made a little bit of couch cushion change. But
Yeah,
all I know is they offer really high percentage yields, and from some of the Black Swan crashes and Luna FTX kind of things we've seen in the past, that gave me enough pause to stay away. So can't speak to it, but I mean, Waf, if you're a big Athena guy, you know what it's about, would love to hear, or anyone else for that matter.
yeah. If not, all good. Don't have much on the soul front. Oh, he's just eating. You can go ahead, Waf, if you are ready. All right, we can come back to it, no problem. Oh, there he is. All good.
All good, bro.
I mean, I think Ethereum is more like it's just tied to stable coins mostly, and it's giving you yield by like finding the areas where it's gonna, I guess, like deposit into like liquidity pools, and it's just sort of like a DeFi application that's like chasing yield. I think that's why people like it. But I do agree, like the yield does seem like a little high, and I get those like Luna vibes from it. But I do see, like, to Jake, to your point, I do see a lot of sharps always like shilling Athena, like probably most notably. I know Arthur Hayes has like a huge bag of Athena, but I'm not even in it myself. I'm just kind of like aware of it. But I know anytime ETH pumps, Athena usually pumps too.
Oh, R.I.P. Jake. Yeah, no, I've seen Arthur Hayes beginning Wolf, and I think he might actually be like an investor or a backer, in some way of the entire Athena company or structure, whatever you want to call it. So I think it's more than just he has a bag. I think like he is. I mean, obviously, having a bag of the token makes you, want to root for their success and kind of, work for your bags. But I think he like is on the team, or some version of that. I'll look around and see if I can't dig that up though.
Yeah, I do know they have like their own like stable coin, and I think it's called USDE, and like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they it's like a synthetic dollar. So they're in the stable coin like world, and so you would think with like real world assets and all the stable coin legislation coming out, like it should be a good play kind of going forward.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's funny, that because I mean it's well over a year old at this point. I can't remember if it's 2 years old or quite, when they launched, but seeing that they were a big stable coin, kind of that was going to be their main bread and butter for offering yield, and that they were making their own, right? You just said USDE, they weren't using USDC or USDT. That was another reason that initially kind of scared me off of it, of being like, okay, yeah, this is all we need is another, stable coin pegged to the dollar for something to depeg and cause more FUD. But I mean, they've stood the test of time up until this point, and I mean, they have made a lot of people a lot of money. So maybe this is the call I finally need to kind of get over some of those ghosts in the closet and just dive into it.
Yeah, I mean, ETH has been on such a tear, and it feels like top blasting everything right now on ETH. But I do still think it's going higher.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, yeah, we're still 500-ish bucks off of all time high, right? I don't like I'm not going to sit here and call for 10k ETH this cycle, right? I mean, it could happen. I don't know, but I think we're definitely not just going to sit below all time high for however much longer this kind of bull market lasts. Whether you want to talk time frame of 2 weeks or 2 months, the end Q4, the end of the year, even if we just get into the low to mid 5,000s, maybe even 6,000s, I think we'll get past it at some point. And like you said, Athena has been acting as a great beta for ETH pumps, Athena pumps as well. So definitely a good idea to have at least some exposure there, and maybe even capture a little more gains than you might see if you just longed ETH, itself.
Yeah, I know you guys were talking about like Bitcoin dominance earlier, and obviously when ETH moves up against Bitcoin, that's like the biggest impact on the dominance. But then I was also looking at like the Sol ETH chart, and like that also looks like it's kind of bottom too. I'm expecting like Solana to even like outperform ETH from like this point on, because I think like ETH just kind of went on a run already, and if we're gonna see Bitcoin dominance really drop, I just think like we're gonna see alts like really really go up.
Sounds like you might be calling for alt season there, Wolf. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, man, I think it is alt season, because like once ETH broke the that $4,000 barrier, I just feel like people are going to be more willing to gamble and play. I mean, you look at our shitcoin channel, right? There's stuff popping off like all the time, and all of that is on Solana. It's not on ETH. So I feel like it's just a matter of time before Solana really takes off.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a great point. We've seen that for I don't even know how many, the last 2-3 years at this point. Like all the big major kind of meme coin, shit coin plays, even all coins for the most part, have been on Solana, right? Some of the market caps and volumes and all that stuff has been a little different than we would have expected from some of the bigger ETH coins, but so many, whether we're talking in a daily runner or even just some of the bigger coins of the past cycles, the whips, the fart coins, yada yada, they are on Sol. So even if we think it's regardless of kind of what chain you prefer, if we think there's an alt season coming, definitely a good idea to have your eyes on both, not just ETH, and maybe even preferably Sol there. So I love that shout.
Yeah, if you think about it, ETH's main catalyst right now is like similar to Bitcoin when it comes to these treasury companies, like buying Ethereum to hold as like a strategic reserve. Like Tom Lee Strat Fund, right? Doesn't he have? He's involved in BMNR, right? That company.
Yeah.
They bought a ton. Like they're up like 30% today. I think they're up like 100% in the last week or so. So like, so Ethereum's narrative is like now similarly tied to Bitcoin, where your people are just gonna, you know, issue shares and buy up ETH, and then as ETH price goes up, like dilute the shares more, buy more ETH. So in that respect, I think like it's gonna do really well. That's where the big money is. And then I think Solana is also entering that space. There's also Solana ETFs and companies that are doing that too. I just think that it's going to be a little bit later to catch on for Solana, but Solana is going to have sort of like that Wall Street aspect to it coming up soon as like a catalyst, and it has like the retail narrative too. Like I don't think anyone else competes with retail with Solana. So if Solana gets retail and gets institutional buys, I think like Solana is going to be the winner.
Interesting. Yeah. I know I saw yesterday in chat, it was Pocket Change. I know I forget exactly which one, but I know he works for a major Web3 company. And I don't want to dox or do anything like that. So I'll leave it there. I know, like I said, works for a major Web3 company. And he said, he knows personally of a couple of funds and other, treasury type companies that have been putting together, upwards of $500 million. So, $500 million dollars worth that they plan to, begin clipping into Solana to start their own Solana treasury. Right. So kind of backs up a lot of what you're saying. And once we see the first one and then the second, third, fourth, like that's, not that means you missed the trade, but right now it may be the kind of time like you're talking about to get in before we start seeing all those announcements and literally billions of dollars being funneled into Solana. So great shouts there.
And think about this, like it's not only a growth play because you have the native yield from Solana, like earning like 9%. So you're gonna get like big money that wants the yield and a little bit of exposure to a growth asset. So you can kind of get like a mixture there.
Oh, waff. I sold a little bit of Sol into ETH, expecting, the run up to break all time highs there. And now you're making me click back over into my wallets and consider hovering over that swap back button.
I mean, you're still good. You're still good. And I think my take is probably not the main take right now. I think a lot of people are probably more bullish ETH right now, and rightfully so. It's made a huge move, but I just think the move's over against Solana. Like it's still going up. I just think the move against Solana is over.
Yeah, but I mean, as we've seen for how many times in this space, man, with tokens, coins, NFTs, whatever, being early is the best way, because like we said, once you're waiting for all those confirmations, news stories to break, for the fourth, fifth treasury company to spin up, you've missed a lot of the juiciest parts of those trades. So yeah, here I go longing Sol again.
And like you said, don't forget to take some profits. Maybe like put it into some Pokemon sealed product.
Oh baby, that'll be another one we can touch on. Hopefully you can stick around till the end of the show and we can end on that note, because can't wait to get my whale kit later this week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. I didn't mean to interrupt the show. I mean, I think Jake's on mute, but you guys could take it back away, and I'll listen in the background here.
First off, never apologize. Always appreciate your thoughts, opinions, expertise. So yeah, thank you for joining us up here, man. Don't ever say you're sorry for that.
Yeah, never. Always appreciate it, man.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah, if nothing else on that topic, we can keep it moving here. I didn't really have much on Sol itself, just that the Sol ETH chart is continuing to, or has not, I should say, found a bottom yet. So I would say I'm just not too interested in Sol right now. I'm not really trying to knife catch. It's been down only since April so far, and currently at its lows while we're recording this. Still, so just super not that interested in Sol. Felt like a great early cycle play, and everything else is catching up a bit. Probably will once again be a good play in the future, but at the moment there's just a lot more attention on other things, and I'd rather ride the wave than try and knife catch stuff too early and be stuck in underperforming positions. That's just kind of my general take on Sol right now. That doesn't mean on-chain stuff on Sol won't do well. So I think it is correlated a little bit. And I still think Sol price itself will do decent. But I guess just what I'm trying to say is I'm not really looking to hold Sol itself as an investment. I'd rather get into more of the microcap stuff if I was going to play on the Sol ecosystem. But yeah, if we want to move on to more on-chain stuff, get into more of the nitty-gritty. As far as shitcoins go, there's been quite a lot happening on that front. Some of the launchpad wars continue. Pump has regained its market share pretty rapidly. It's honestly, it's really shown that no one's safe in terms of all these launch pads. Like, there's really not a moat out there for any of them. It seems Bonk was dominating with like 80+%, even just like, I don't know, a week and a half ago maybe. And Pump's come all the way back. They're up to 70% now. Bonk's down to like 14%. Bags is kind of the new player in town, where it's similar to how Launchcoin works, but you can attribute the fees to anyone's Twitter account. So people are launching these coins that have super high fees for buying and selling, and the Twitter account attributed to it can claim them. So they're like raising money for random things and random people. I don't know, not my favorite meta. Don't love the super high fees getting extracted out of the ecosystem, but it's at least found a use case for the moment. And then there's also a new player in town, which we've covered a good amount in both Shitcoin chat as well as into the time sensitive channel, which is this Heaven Dex. Their token is called Light. They did a public pre-sale that anyone could join into. Looks like that coin is also going to launch here in like an hour and a half or less than an hour and a half. So something to look out for if you want to play that. It's going to launch at a market cap of 22.5 million with 2.2 million of liquidity. I thought I had their. Give me 1 second. They capped the pre-sale at 77.7K per wallet that sent. So there's no huge holders. I mean, obviously people could have and probably did send from a bunch of different wallets if they're smart. But in terms of any single holder, there's not going to be at least big whale wallets in there. So distribution will look pretty good. And then no tokens are going to be launched on the DEX itself until April 14th. Here we go. Yeah, this is everything you need to know about the TG. If you want to get involved in it, as Waf says, yeah, like TG today. So yeah, that one's pretty interesting. I think it's probably going to do pretty well for the people that allocate it. I see a lot of sharp people on it. 22.5 seems pretty cheap for how much buzz and attention they're getting for a Launchpad token. So I'm personally anticipating it doing pretty well, even though I didn't send into it. I'm thinking it's going to be doing pretty good. So we'll see. Something to look out for. And then alongside that stuff, as far as just how stuff is going in on chain, again, like I said at the beginning of the show, I was out for the weekend, so I'm not super up to date. But I know there's a couple big plays ripping, like Sparky and Clippy, or Spark and Clippy. Just in general, it seems like AI stuff is catching a bit again. But it's not the same AI stuff really that was popping off, at least for the most part, in the last I guess mini shitcoin cycle, and like late in like December of last year, January of this year. Here's a graph of AI mindshare being back on the rise, up to like 29% in terms of socials mindshare on X. It was up to like 70% during the previous boom of AI coins. I don't know if it's going to get that high, but I mean, certainly, obviously, AI is not going away at all in terms of its relevance in our society, in our traditional markets. So I wouldn't anticipate it going away anytime soon, especially with how much it can interact and be involved in the crypto world. So that continues to be a lot of where the hot plays are right now, as far as on-chain stuff goes.
Yeah, man, not really much of anything to add there. I haven't really been trenching the last week or two. Waiting for. Obviously, we're in really nice conditions, but waiting for some breakouts on some things like we have seen to really hop back in and be ready to lose a little more ETH and Soul. But yeah, I did throw in a couple pennies into the Heaven pre-sale, so really excited to see that and hope it performs. I know I wasn't the only one in MBHQ who did, so let's see. Fingers crossed for an hour and a half here.
Yes, sir. Hope it does well for you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else there, we can move on to the hot topic. I think the tech that people are excited about is some NFTs, man. NFTs continue. I mean, we've been on it. We've been on it for over a month now, talking about how they're rising back up, they're trending up, and they continue to do so. It certainly is looking like more of a established trend than a flash in the pan at this point. The continued growth of the sector. There's I'm just looking at the top stuff for the past week right now. Apes up 12%. Pudgy's up like 4%. Moonbird's up 3%, 4%. Zuki up 13%. Milady's up 10%. All the big stuff. Punks look like they're pretty flat. But besides that, a lot of green on the board. And I think, I guess while we're still on the OG stuff, I wanted to mention D-Farmer is calling out a pretty big call here, calling it a generational bottom on these OG NFTs, specifically Bored Apes and Azukis. So I think that's probably a controversial take for a lot of people, I would say, since they've been pretty down only, or at least depressed a bit since the last cycle for years now. So, calling a generational bottom is a pretty big deal, I would say. We'll see. Maybe it can be, or at least for this cycle. I do think Azuki. I mean, Azuki did they teased a big announcement partnership. They're claiming like the biggest in Web3 history, I think is what they said. Coming out this month. We'll see what that is. I don't know what that could possibly be. That's like bigger than what like Pudgies have done. It might just be all hype. But maybe they're able to pull something off there. I mean, Izukis are still pretty depressed, I would say, at 2.25 or compared to a lot of these other collections that have ran. So maybe it has something. I mean, Moonbirds are even higher than them now. And then Bored Apes themselves, I mean, they obviously have the other side that they're still building. Who knows how successful that's going to be? I know I'm not really plugged in too much to that ecosystem. If anyone has any thoughts there, we'd love to hear more. If there's any like updates or if you're still bearish or whatever, we'd love to hear that too. Yeah, any general thoughts around the OG stuff in state of NFTs right now before we get into like the new mint stuff? Is anyone buying any OG NFTs? I'm curious. Or like even looking at them. Crickets.
Yeah, right. Well, I will say I've been looking into some stuff, and I've always got like a Blur collections page pulled up, Jake, just monitoring right where everything is, how it's moved on the day, the week, whatever. And it took me 4 years, but I did buy my first Bored Ape Yacht Club over the weekend, so I've got one of those in the digital zoo now, just kind of wait until he can be sent up to someone else's loving wallet shortly enough here. So hopefully that play ends up working out for me.
Okay. Van Squeep says, I imagine V Friends could be poised for a little pump once Gary V inevitably returns. I think it's not a bad call. I could see him coming back and shilling hard to his friends once again.
Yeah, and a little cross promo for our TCG chat. Gary V, his V Friends, he's been kind of building out their collectible card game and all that sort of stuff. They've had a couple of like Topps collabs, like the kind of legacy sports, baseball, football card brand Topps. I think it was last week. Yeah, because I think it was last week. We talked about it on the stream, or maybe that was for a different box, but they had a single box that you could enter a box of cards you could enter a raffle for, and I think the box was like $2,000 or $3,000 and was reselling for like $8K on secondary. So he, not necessarily super NFT related, but he is still pushing the VFriends brand and trying to, make it more mainstream through some of the other kind of collectible spaces that are, not NFT related, that just have, bigger widespread mind share and participation. Um, and likewise, I know he was at the National Card Show, which is like the biggest card show in the entire nation. It was in Chicago, I think 2 weeks ago. He was there showing his cards, going around doing videos with people, doing like some live, like rip and ship break kind of things. So, remains to be seen if and how he will connect that back to NFTs. But if he does at all, like, he is still out there. He is working for the VFriends brand, even if we don't see him posting about it, incessantly on Twitter. So I do like that shout from Van Squeeb, because whether he directly funnels some of it back into VFriends or gives them access to exclusive, TCG drops for the cards or whatever, I do see that being a decent risk reward play there. Oh yeah, and Wolf saying, having Topps Chrome cards is, for his IP is really, really great, and that there's a Steph Curry 1-of-1 auto, so autograph in that VFriends collab box. Which, don't ask me how Steph Curry and VFriends really how those two mesh together, but having access to that, I mean, that is still a super, super cool thing, and he's been building out, again, the VFriends brand with known sport card people, players, things like that. So I think all of that is pretty bullish.
I'm assuming Topps Chrome is like, I guess I don't really know much about trading cards. Like, why is that good? I guess.
I mean, unless Woth is much, much, much more knowledgeable in like the sports card side of things. But yeah, it's like a super premium set that has like the best cards, the best like pulls and hits that you can get. I mean, the stuff that sells for tens of thousands of dollars, if not like six figures or something.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean, at least he's building. I've not really seen him talk about NFTs in a long time. But I could certainly see. I think that's a good call, Van Squeeb. If you start to see him like buying NFTs again, like if you track his wallet, which is one of the most tracked, I would say that'd be a pretty good indicator for the VFriends collection. I'd probably bid them if that happened. Yeah, and there's always VFriends too for lower entry. But yeah, outside of that, new mints have been doing quite well. It's been like DGen mint season again, which has been pretty crazy to see. Yeah, just I mean, just a lot of stuff that's been shared in here. The obviously Little Chillers, which we talked about before, was a huge hit. That was like a 0.1 mint. All you had to do was own a little bit of Chill House, like just like one coin, like literally like less than a cent worth, and you could mint them. I think it was super fast mint, but you could buy it for quite cheap right after anyway, as well in secondary, and those ran up huge, like 7 SOL plus, still holding really nice floor, like 3.5 SOL. And then what was the other one? The slop list or whatever. Those were talked about heavily in here too. I know a lot of people in HQ got on those. That was good to see. I think I mean, that was a really cheap one. Still cheap comparatively at like 0.03 something. But I think mint was like $1. I don't even know, $2 or whatever.
Yeah, it was a dollar mint.
Yeah. So still a very big win. And then some others like the Crypto Fish was a really nice one that we were on pretty early here in MVHQ. Those ran up a good amount. I think first day they got up to like 0.3, dipped quite a bit, and then repumped again up to like 0.4, sitting at like 0.26 right now. Still really good cook. But yeah, just in general, I mean that's all within like the last week or two. And I'm certainly missing a few mints in there as well. So it's really good to see. NFT mints back. We talked about this, I think last episode. Just like I'm gonna have to start paying attention to when people share NFT projects again, because they're actually doing very well. If it's like something that's halfway decent, and there's been, it seems like a dedicated effort almost by some of these like artists, especially like this big artist OGs, to really get back into and really like light a fire under the new market. Like Xcopy especially is the big one, who has been minting as well and chilling a lot of these like new degen mints. And I'd say if you are looking to get into the NFTs again, like Xcopy with notifications on, especially on his wallet, because you're earlier, but also his Twitter account too, has been really good. There's been a lot of stuff pumping based on just Xcopy, just sharing what he's minted, and I mean he pretty much always just holds anyway. It's not like he's flipping 0.01 mints on people. So yeah, that's I mean a lot of exciting stuff on the NFT front. Anything else? Do you guys have any NFTs that I missed?
Look here. I mean, yeah, not really on the good side of NFTs, but there was, I don't know if you saw, Jake. I think it was Saturday night, maybe. There was a whole bunch of drama around Nakamigos. Beeple had an event at his like museum in South Carolina where he made. I mean, it was a joke. It was just a huge joke. I feel like it was pretty easy to see that from the start. Where he had kind of written up a flyer saying Nakamigos were actually the V0 Cryptopunks, like by Larva Labs. And I mean, there were like, he was using quotation marks and then he had like a video advertising it, but it was all AI. And there were like multiple people in it and it was just Beeple voicing everyone. I mean, again, it seemed like it was pretty easy to tell it was a joke. It was a meme. It wasn't serious. But of course, Twitter ran with it, and the speculation ran rampant. And oh my God, Nakamigos are a Larva Labs project. They're part of the CryptoPunks history IP. Blah blah blah. I mean, so they pumped like 100-200%, and then he came out yesterday and formally kind of just apologized and was like, yeah, that was a joke. I thought everyone realized it was a joke, so my bad. And so they're back down to kind of where they were before the pump, down in like the 0.1819.2 area. So that was that. It wouldn't be NFT season if we didn't have something ridiculous like that kind of happening just on a random Saturday night.
Yeah, I did see some people talking about that, but I didn't really look into it. I didn't see like the conclusion of it, if it was real or not. Appreciate the breakdown.
Yeah, it wasn't real. It was just Beeple being Beeple. I mean, like a lot of things, like Occam's razor. If the simplest solution is most likely the right solution, it was a joke. It was a meme. I mean, if you've seen any one of his daily art pieces, you should know that he's not exactly a serious guy. So
Very true. Very true. Yeah, that's all I had on my list for today as far as talking points. Silva, did you have anything else?
Not really. Just super, like we said at the top, really bullish time. A lot of coins breaking out of high time frame, year, 2 year long ranges. So never a bad idea to look at some of the coins that actually have like good underlying metrics, actually do something. I know you called out ENS was a great beta. Excuse me, to ETH earlier. Very useful protocol, right? People still use ENS to this day. So that like look for things like that. Not saying meme coins can't also be good plays, but I'm much more of a find a coin that actually accomplishes something and does something unique and different that has value. See if it also kind of falls under those, breaking out of ranges, doesn't have huge bag holders, anything like that. So ENS is a great one that kind of fits that gap. And just, keep farming, make, as bullish as it is and as fun as it is to trade kind of up only coins and NFTs again. Still great farming opportunities out there. Hyperliquid, Infinex, Ethos, just can take 5 to 10 minutes a day to kind of knock out a couple of those tasks. And especially if any of them TGE in the next couple of weeks or months here in this bull market, that could be a really nice shot in the arm for anyone's liquidity here. So yeah, always a big proponent of farming, even when things are getting to be closer to silly season here. Just takes 5 or 10 minutes.
Yes, sir. Just a couple clicks, all you need sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah, great recap. Anyone else out there? Anything you want to chat through? Anything important that we missed? Cool. If not, we can wrap it up here. Thank you guys for coming out.
I will say one last note here, Jake. I don't know if Jinzo is allowed to come back from Greece because ever since he left, I mean, market's been doing amazingly. Like we said, ETH broke out of a multi-year long range and looks primed to go to all-time highs at some point here. Like, I don't know. We might have to handcuff him to a radiator in Greece somewhere and just say, take one for the team, bro.
I'm sure he wouldn't mind not coming back either. I'll have his time in life over there.
And I bet, yeah.
Crawlers would let him know. Good. All right, y'all. Well, thank you. Definitely we'll keep trying to chop it up more. We had a nice little VC session on Friday. Going to try to do that more often here and have some time available. Get back in VC, especially with stuff more hot in the market. There's a lot more to talk about on the day-to-day basis. So, yeah, don't be a stranger. Come hop in VC anytime. We can chat it up. Yeah, we'll try to get more of those sessions in outside of just Wake and Jake stuff. But, yeah, thanks, y'all. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Jake. And I will see everyone else in the trenches. Haven't launched in an hour.
Yeah. There you go.